Where are my headphones?
You don't get headphones. I can take mine off, though.
No, that's okay. I'm just so used to headphones because I use them all the time.
You know what I just remembered?
What?
I'm happy to share this with you. Do you know I sat with a few months ago in her apartment and talked to her for like ever, and we bonded and we got along so well, and it's going to be incredible when I put it up. But I think Film Forum is doing a retrospective of her documentaries, and she's 93, and you did the sound for her. You volunteered to do, well, you didn't volunteer, you got paid, and you brought your son, this is when he was very little, you brought your kid with you.
Lee Grant.
Very good. How did you guess? I was going to keep feeding you.
Yes.
Oh my!
I was breastfeeding.
She may have said that. I'm not sure. Or she probably has better taste than...
We did When Women Kill.
You are correct. That is correct. You did. That was an unbelievable experience. That was really an unbelievable experience to sit with her. And, you know, my mind has been around a couple things. One is the blacklist, the Hollywood blacklist period. So, of course, she, as you well know, couldn't work.
She looks great for 93.
Oh, my God.
Too.
First of all, she walked in.
That's whose place. That's where I was last night.
What?
With Lee and Joey. He had an art show.
You were there last night?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Her husband's
an artist, and he had a big show at the National Arts Club. And there
always last to know.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful, and I really wanted to go.
Oh, you
so
couldn't
much.
Go.
Huh?
But you were hanging out with them.
Well, them and 150 of their friends.
Right, their closest friends.
Including Michael Douglas and, you know.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Blythe Danner and all these.
Don't know them, but they sound interesting.
You know who they are.
So it's one of my lines that I do. I don't want this to go off track too much, but I've been very,
yes,
very...
you do.
I do, because I want to get to know you also outside of the film stuff, but we're going to come to New Homeland, which is the new film and why we're here both at Woodstock. You know, I talked to Lee about that, and I said, for instance, there are some that say that those who were forced into a corner to name names, and they did, and they were victims too. That's a rationale. It's reasonable to say that. They were in a corner and, you know, maybe felt they didn't have a choice. I don't know. But Lee, I'm talking to her, I said, Lee, but you were in that corner and you did not name names. Doesn't saying they were victims dilute what you and others did? Doesn't it make it less powerful, impactful? And she's in her 90s and she's still evolving. You know, it's great to see. And I then went on to read finally the Elia Kazan memoir, A Life, you know, where he just digs in his heels. And I just glad I read it. And she said she ultimately forgives him, but she never forgets, you know, but she forgives, you know, which...
Well, she really struggled for a long time.
In her prime of her...
Yeah, I know.
You know.
And we met for the first time. I don't know if she remembers this, but she was an AFI fellow, and she did a film called The Stranger, which was a short film.
Right. That was her first directing.
Yeah, and
effort.
She was sitting in front of me, and I was not a fellow, but I had gotten a $10,000 grant from AFI for Harlan County. So that's how we met for the first time at this AFI theater in Los Angeles. And then I went and I listened, and she was talking all about the blacklist and everything.
Well, she certainly has had... Anyway, it's going to be... I'll send you a link or to Dave, so you can hear it, because I think you'll appreciate it. It came out really well, you know.
Yeah, I interviewed her for her Directors Guild for about 5 hours.
What is it that they're doing that takes 5 hours?
They want to know everything about her.
It's an oral
It's an oral, history.
History of her. Wow, okay. And you did that.
I was the interviewer.
You were really connected. I didn't realize
I went to her New Year's Eve parties for 14 years until she stopped them.
Oh, okay. Maybe she'll restart, because I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about before we start officially is Penny, because he was also very important to the stuff I do. He and Chris were very generous. You hear that a lot about them both, but I didn't know if you had a particular memory also about meeting him or something like that.
Of course, I have a memory of that.
Yeah.
My newest film, Desert One, is in memory of him and Robert Fury, who is also filmmaker, cinematographer, and Rip Torn, who is an old friend of mine. And Penny when I was doing Harlan County, USA, and just felt, okay, nobody knows who I am. I don't know if this film is going to work. And I called him up and I asked him if I could screen it there and would he invite people to see it. And he said, absolutely. And so I went up there and all these people that I totally admired and loved were up there, that I was petrified that this unknown person, was walking in with an unknown film, and he was letting me screen it there. And that was sort of the beginning of our relationship. He was also helped me get money from the National Endowment for the Arts. He saw the piece. I sent a clip to the National Endowment of the Arts, and and he saw the piece of Bessie Lou Cornett in the courtroom saying, laws aren't made for the working people in this country, and the judge walking out. And Penny said, man, if she could get that, let's help her any way we can. And he was the moderator for the New York Film Festival when the film showed.
Wow.
And that was pretty exciting because we went crazy that night. We put song sheets of Hazel Dickens' song in everybody's program. And so they all sang with Hazel. And then this woman, Lois Scott, who takes the gun out of her dress in Harlan County, had just been voted president of the Black Lung Association, and she started raising money in Alice Tully Hall for the world premiere of my film Harlan County, USA. And people were throwing $5 and $10 bills on the stage
or something.
Yep. And I was laughing in the corner, and she said, okay, Barbara, you stop that laughing and you stuff that money in your bra. We need it. So
that's
and
a great
Penny
story.
was, my moderator, and he just went, go for it, girl. Richard Roud came up to me afterwards, and he said, next year, Barbara, you'll have to do it on roller skates. I said, fantastic. I'd love to.
Everybody's game. It's like everybody's into the moment. In the moment, it sounds like from the way you're describing things, and like it's a matter of being fully present at that and realizing.
Right, but what made you go to Lee? What?
Oh, well, I had somebody was able to connect me to her friend. But anyway, so of course I said, yeah. I had met her once before, but like literally they were doing a retrospective at at BAM of not her stuff, of Hal Ashby. And I went to see the landlord, and she was on the panel. It was just her and I think Robert Downey Sr. And afterwards, she was walking away, and I just wanted to, of course, say hello. But she was going down there's a big staircase, and I just said, here, take my arm. She says, and on the podcast, that I reminded her of this incident. She says, I remember that. And I thought, what a nice young man. And I said, I don't believe you. I don't think you remember that. But she says she. Anyway,
I would take it for that. I mean,
me too.
Those moments of niceness for people are things that stick with people.
That's true.
I think you should smile and feel good about what you did.
Thank you. Well, you've been nice to me, and when I was doing the Kickstarter, you were very nice. So it's true, and I won't forget that. I really enjoyed New Homeland, which, again, is here. Where did it premiere, though? Just tell me so I know.
Its very first premiere was DOC NYC.
Oh, last fall.
Last fall.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think I remember you on the opening night party or whatever or the night before the opening, where you were sitting with Michelle Ezrick and Chris Hedges at a table, and I just enjoyed seeing you, the three of you, but I didn't say anything.
Oh, I think that was even before that.
Okay.
Because that might have been...
They have some at that restaurant every year now,
yeah.
Which I'm sure they'll be doing in a matter of weeks, actually. But anyway, I'm glad for the opportunity to have seen it because I enjoyed it. I didn't do much due diligence ahead of time. I didn't know what to expect. And as I saw, it starts in Aleppo, I think, doesn't it? Or is it?
Well, it's using stock footage.
Okay, right.
To really amplify what the parents went through.
Right, just
and
prior.
so you get a feeling of why they needed to leave and how much they cared for the safety of their children.
Sure. You could also see for an extended version of that, for Sama, for instance, or The Cave, I think, right?
But
yeah.
What was interesting is using that stock footage, we did it for, the Iraqis and for both Syrian families.
I was trying to remember the other countries, and it makes sense. It was the Iraq war-torn countries where their kids stand every chance of getting, at the very best, injured. I mean,
I wanted to do a contrast between what they'd seen and then the innocence of the kids going to camp and that very serene kind of time that they were having. How different.
Yeah.
But still losing their families and not being able to probably ever go back and not seeing grandparents and parents and that kind of thing.
Now that you mention it, the parents, once they moved to Canada and they were sponsored by these Canadian families financially, and part of that financial sponsorship included summer camp for the kids.
Well, that happened. That just happened. I mean, they heard about it. There was an email that went around.
I see. Okay.
And that was for free.
But these are parents that are living in such fraught conditions in their home in Syria or in Iraq. And then, so they're holding their kids, they're worried for their safety, obviously every minute of the day. I don't know how they sleep. And then they willingly let their kids go to camp, which of course is not a danger, But what it must be like still for the parents who are so used to having them there all the time where they can hear them and have them close by. Even that they're going to camp must have been difficult for those parents, as you'd see. In fact, they really were so happy to have them back. It was difficult.
Well, they've never spent a night away from them.
Yeah.
And they're all a very close-knit family. And for me, that was saying, listen, they love their kids as much as any other parents love their kids and, are afraid from them. And usually what the procedure is they go from Syria or Iran and then they live in Turkey for a while, which is also very hard. Like Omar, for example, who was the kid who had a lot of problems, he was with gangs in Turkey just to be able to stay alive. So,
in other words, they would protect each other.
Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't going to be all solved in a matter of weeks at a summer camp, what he needs to go through to get to the other side.
But
that particular character, the person you're
right,
boy, Omar.
Right, but he's having an even rougher time now. He's been taken out of the home.
I see.
He's in a community house. He was running around with kids who had guns.
Yeah, that's what he knows, right? It's what he considers family or safety. It's been kind of bred into him, and he's got to get rebooted on some level, which is going to take an enormous amount of patience and time, right?
Well, and also for his brother, who couldn't wait to get back on his phone again and was phone sick rather than homesick.
Yeah.
And, it used to scare me because his friends were Saudi Arabian and he had never met them. And I wonder if that's part of a recruitment that happens.
Wow.
So it used to frighten me when he would talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we laid out the story, I guess, but I was surprised because I didn't know ahead of time that it was primarily about going to camp. I mean, it's a special version of that, but it was like an Outward Bound type of program where they're spending most of their time on trips like this, one trip or another, right? The kids?
Well, they're tripping, which means camping.
Right.
And
it's a Canadian version of camping.
Yeah, and they had never done that before.
Right.
And so it was something very new to them and something that was a tremendous amount of work for them as well. Yeah. Because they'd have to carry the canoes or carry backpacks.
What is it called?
Portage.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was finally
from going from one lake to another, and sometimes it was a couple of miles. So it was a lot of hard work.
Yeah. And that experience, though, gives these kids just an incredible amount of, hypothetically, a tremendous amount of confidence and opportunity to really get close and all those wonderful things that happens in that type of environment.
Well, it makes them feel, while they're doing it like they want to be anywhere else. And then after they do it, it gives them
that's true. Yeah.
a sense of self-confidence
Yeah.
that they did it and they completed it and they made it.
Yeah.
And
Everybody should have that experience.
some of them are ready for more.
Yeah. Most of the kids, I'm sure, wanted to go back.
Well, no. Mohammed Darwish went back.
Mm-hmm.
But the other two, the Zinn family kids, did not go back because their parents, didn't want them to go back because they missed them too much. But in the meantime, the mother had a baby. They had a baby boy, another boy.
This is not in the film. Yeah.
What?
This isn't in the film, but
no, it isn't.
In the sequel.
But they let Mohammed go back to camp because they had this new child. So
right. And it was easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the Zinn family, the parents who were
he was the one with the
parachute family, who told them at dinner how you have to, keep clean and don't leave your stuff around and never climb unless there's a camp counselor with you.
Right.
They're the over protective family.
The helicopter family.
Yes.
Yeah, as you said. Yeah, that's funny. And I will not forget Omar. He's clearly the most memorable because he was, and every camp has an Omar, maybe not quite as extreme circumstances that the kids come from.
Yes.
But it is the case there's always one or two kids that are cases, in a sense, that they require special attention and more guidance and more interaction because left to their own device, they get into trouble more frequently.
Well, he may have had
they need more attention.
ADD or he may have had
absolutely
something.
Clearly.
But I think also he didn't feel things like if he slapped you, he wouldn't realize that it hurt.
Right.
You.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
No, there are clearly early signs of things people have to be concerned about. I mean, and that's saying probably too little, By the way, what did you think about that Janice Ian?
Oh, I thought that Janice Ian was tremendous. She was funny. She was badass. Her music is great. To think that she started at 15 and she just doesn't care what people think of her, and she'll say anything she wants.
It's liberating.
I mean, what a beautiful story of somebody who really kept transforming herself and kept writing more and more beautiful music of what she really felt.
Yeah, she performed, the one song I got to see was Resist, and I just thought, wow, there's fire in her belly. Clearly.
Oh, exactly. That was one of the strongest, except you didn't hear the last song.
No, I walked in right at the tail end, and it seemed like I just missed something because everybody
You missed something incredible.
Oh, well, I'll have to watch it on.
It was about being gay and how frogs are green and nobody cares if, you love somebody, that's what matters. There's no gender, and if you don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay to curse on this show. I just really appreciated that. I didn't know because I've never seen her live, and I think about how artists like that have years and years just to get more and more and more talented. They don't get less talented; they get more talented. So we live in such a youth-oriented culture. It's no surprise to say that. I'm not the first one to make that observation, but. In other places, other countries, they don't, discard quite. I'm not saying she's discarded quite because there's obviously an audience for her, but it's almost like a nostalgia or oldies act, which she's not. Look at her. She's as relevant and germane as any young artist when you watch her do it. Right?
Janice Ian's totally hip.
Right.
And totally, really knows what's going on in the world.
But she's just because of who she is.
What's extraordinary and powerful is that she writes songs about it. And so they resonate and they're there forever.
Right.
So it's quite remarkable to see her take on it and how irrelevant she thinks of people who care about what other people think. She doesn't believe in that, and she just cares at this point who she is, what she's about, and what she feels. And if you don't like it, too bad.
Right. Well, that was a friendlier way of saying. But yeah, it's got to be liberating, of course, to have that feeling and not to worry about what people think.
No, she's a beauty. She's a national treasure.
Well said. Well said. I wish I could have been there for the whole thing, but So New Homeland is, just to hop back onto that, sorry to be moving.
Well, we're having a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
It can go anywhere, and you can edit it as you choose.
No, it's part of the show. You know,
Flow.
it's like, yeah, exactly, flow.
But you have to keep your listeners interested.
Sure. I hope I'm doing a fairly...
No, of course you are.
Yeah. But New Homeland does have one more screening as we're here in Woodstock at the festival.
Tomorrow at 12.
At 12. And what town?
Rhinebeck.
Right, at the Upstate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice little theater.
I like
them.
It is, but it's a distance from here, I guess.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the distance from the two furthest spots, from the towns that are is a significant ride.
Yes.
You could get most of the way back to New York City in the same time, actually.
Not quite.
I'm exaggerating, but significantly far. But you're going to stay here overnight? Is that the plan?
Oh, yeah. I'm staying with friends, Jerry and Leon Gast. Leon did the Muhammad Ali film.
I remember.
Yeah.
No, I met him here once, and he also I invited him on for when Ali died a couple of years ago. We did a phone conversation for that.
That's great because he went to the funeral or the memorial.
Yeah. What was the other filmmaker that did another documentary about? He
Sam
died.
Green. Did
he
one on
did
Ali?
he did it with someone, and he passed away recently. He's anyway. I don't want to get down another rabbit hole with you.
You like going in the weeds.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Because I talked to Sam Green too, and he was very close to the filmmaker who I reached out to also, and it just like Leon got back to me sooner. So, but I wanted to talk about Muhammad Ali, who was everybody's hero in my generation. Growing up as a kid in the 70s.
Mine too.
You're hip and always in the moment as well, and always. You don't show any signs of slowing down or anything. Like you're just completely interested and curious as ever, right? I mean, that's the way you.
Who would want to slow down?
A lot of people do, though.
No, but life is too exciting
and short.
And I have a ravenous curiosity about people and situations and love-making films. Mm-hmm. And for me, every time I do one, it's like doing it for the first time. So I get very excited about it.
It does feel that way.
Yeah. If someone calls and says, how would you like to do a film on? And it's something that I've never thought about before. Mm-hmm. I'm like a 12-year-old. I get really excited about it.
But if Janice Ian, for instance, wasn't already considering this other documentary, that would have been in the next
I would have done it in a heartbeat.
I know you would have. I know. Maybe she'll say no to that.
No.
I'm just in your camp. That's what I say. I'm sure it's a very talented and well-intentioned person who's going to do something fabulous with her, because all she has to do is be herself, essentially, and all he has to do is train the camera on that.
I know, and she's
most of the way there.
So interesting, and she has such a different view and such a different look on things. So.
Right? Yeah, very much so. Well, you probably have a number of other projects lined up, regardless, right? I'm going to guess, which is always good for me, because it means I always have another opportunity to maybe bring you back.
Well, of course. We have an ongoing conversation to always be continued.
Oh, that's nice to hear. We can leave it there. But check out New Homeland. It's coming to a festival soon near you. I was going to say, you probably have the most patient husband because you are always supporting all your films and everybody else's. And going from festival to festival as often as you can. I love it. I know you do.
Because for me, it's so exciting to hear what people say.
Yeah, right.
And to watch them as they're looking at it and hope they all don't leave by the end.
And other than maybe a premiere night in New York City, you don't get a lot of other opportunities to do that other than festivals. Yeah.
And I love all the people here.
That's right.
In Woodstock. I mean, it's wonderful to come here and to see them all and spend a little time with them.
As it is with you.
Likewise.
Thank you. That was the right answer. Barbara, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.